Today marks the first day of August, and you know what that means. School will be starting in a couple of weeks. I know, that sucks. And if you clicked on this video, then you made the right choice, because in 10 minutes, I'm going to show you everything I know to help you get straight A's. To go from an academic victim to an absolute academic weapon. So just give me 10 minutes of your time and it will be the best 10 minutes of your life. So let me just start out by saying this. I was not naturally smart at all. In freshman year, I absolutely had no idea what I was doing with my life, and I was just an average high school student. But at graduation, I was able to graduate in the top 6% of my class, despite taking 2 regulars classes and without having a 4.0 GPA. I know, shocker, right? But this isn't to brag or anything, it's just to show you that you can literally do this too, with all the tips I'm going to share in this 10-minute video. So, throughout this video, make sure to take some notes and actually apply these to your life to get some good results. So, let's cut the yapping, let's begin. So to all my master procrastinators out there, we gotta make sure those priorities are set straight for this next school year. Apps like TikTok and Instagram make it so easy to get that free hit of dopamine that we mindlessly scroll for hours on end each day. And by doing so, we lose so much time and we are unable to do things that are actually productive. And in the end, we are left unsatisfied, which is the worst of all. So, the first tip I'm going to share to you is one of the best productivity tips that I've ever learned throughout my life. And it comes from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which I highly recommend to you because it is a good book and it will totally help you be a more productive person. But anyway, the strategy goes and it's called creating an environment of focus, where you're trying to create a setting that allows you to do productive things with the absence of many distractions, which often comes to our phone. So in creating an environment of focus, we're going to put our phone in or object of distraction in a different setting or room where it is unattainable. And by doing so, we're building good habits and creating a setting where we're able to be productive and get into deep work, which is really important. And this leads me to the other strategy, which will be called habit stacking, which is another tip from the book. And it basically says that you take a current habit and you combine it with a new one. So let me give you an example. So let's say each day I come home from school and the first place I go to is my desk. And that would be a current habit. And the new habit we're going to try combining to it is studying. So I'm going to go to my desk and study. Instead of going to my desk and right there, I pull out my phone and start scrolling. So there you have it. You are building good habits and you're being more productive. Now that you know the first step to being productive, I'm going to show you actually how to study efficiently and save time. I know, pretty simple, right? Since we all know how to study, but not many of us know how to study efficiently, which saves time and stress later on. And the first tip is actually to develop a good study schedule, because the bottom line is to don't cram, and here is why. Studying in small amounts has actually been proven to be much more efficient than cramming. One, because it encourages long-term retention, which means you're able to remember the material for a longer period of time. And contrast to cramming, where right when the exam rolls around and right when you have your pencil and paper on that test, you just forget everything. We don't want that. So, for me, every time the professor or teacher teaches a new lesson, the night after I will review the material for an hour or so before going to bed. 1. Reviewing your notes before you sleep has actually been proven to help you learn the material more, because when you sleep, your brain is basically replaying what you just learned. It's like a playbook basically, and that is good for building long-term retention. Now that you have the basics of studying, I'm going to show you some strategies. One is the blurb technique. So, for this technique, I want to take a sheet of paper and write down everything you know about this topic. Then, compare it to what you wrote to your notes. Identify any gaps or anything you forgot, and take what you forgot and write it in a red pen to kind of correct yourself, right? Number 2, the Feynman technique. This one involves where you're trying to explain a concept as complex as physics or whatever you're learning into simple statements that a 5th grader can learn. And you can exercise this technique by learning with your peers or trying to explain a concept to your family. And what also helps with this is oftentimes they will ask you some questions that you probably never thought of, And this is also a way to help you understand the material better and in a more simple way. So let's just say you apply all these techniques and it just still doesn't work because you have a bad teacher.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Now how are you supposed to get straight A's? Don't worry, I know how. But first let me tell you a short story. In junior year I took a Spanish 3 class because I thought it was supposed to be easy. That's what everyone else said. Well, it was, since every day was a work day and we barely had any homework. That was all good except for the fact that he never prepared us for any of the tests. He would quite literally schedule tests whenever he needed the grades. So it'd be right at the end of the quarter and he would just be like, hey guys, we need a test by this Friday. Is everyone good with this idea? And the thing is, it was Tuesday already. So when that first test came around, I quite literally got a 72. And the thing is, I want to get an A, like most of us do. And if the teacher wasn't going to teach, I would literally have to learn this by myself. And so I did. My goal was to put in the minimal effort I needed to get that 90. Because in the end of the day, it was an elective class. And I was not going to let that stop me from getting all A's this year. So I self-learned that stuff and I maintained at least a 90 throughout the year. And here are 2 lessons for you based on this. 1, don't let a bad teacher stop you from getting straight A's. And this also applies to many classes outside of electives, which are much more important. If you want that A, I promise you can get it. Like, let's say there's many online resources you can use, which are free. If you use catalogs like LibGen and others that give you free PDFs of textbooks. And you can also buy some from Amazon, which I think your parents would do if it's for school. Number 2, don't put effort into everything, and let me explain. Like for my case, which was I was in Spanish 3, there was no reason to put in that much effort to get straight A's in that class because it was an elective after all. There's much more important things that I could be doing too with my time. In junior year, it's like super busy. I had other classes to worry about like AP Physics and dual credit US History, which took up a lot of time considering the essay writing and the tests we have like every other week. So I had to put my time towards that. And this kind of holds true for a lot of your harder classes as well. Like, you know when your teacher assigns those pointless projects just for a test grade that should be an easy 100 basically? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There's not really any incentive to work really hard on those, since as long as you put in enough effort and you meet the rubric, she'll give you that 100. And there's no point of making it look extra good since everyone's going to be getting the same grade anyway. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The last tip I want to leave you off with is just asking for what you need. Oftentimes students misjudge how big of a resource their teacher truly is. Like for one thing, if you needed a grade change, they will do it for you. Like if you had an 89 and you wanted that 90, most teachers would, as long as you send them a kind email and ask them in person, they would most likely agree. And another is asking for homework help. A lot of times people just think, oh, the teacher's just gonna give us the homework without giving us any help, so we're just gonna do this on our own. But that's not the case. As long as you spend some time after school and actually ask them to help with the homework, they will most likely guide you through it. And like for one, with my AP Physics teacher, I had AP Classroom I needed help with, and she quite literally helped me through it and get to those answers. And in those times I needed her to check it, she would check it for me, even though I didn't think she would. But by asking, she actually did it until like the end of the year, because I asked like for every AP Classroom assignment. But you get the idea. So yeah, if you just ask, there is a possibility of them saying yes. And if they say no, so what, right? And the same thing kind of goes for extra credit as well. If you were to ask for extra credit and the teacher realizes the rest of the class also needs it, they would probably give it to you. And I include this whole tip of asking just to help you realize that I don't want you to let any of the small opportunities slip away. Like if you're at an 89, just take the time to write an email and ask them to boost that letter grade up. Because let's say you didn't and you're at an 89 and you kind of missed your whole opportunity to get A honor roll, and now you're an AB honor roll. So definitely keep that in mind. Thank you everyone for watching, and for those that watched this far, make sure to comment straight A's, as I will respond to each and every one of your comments. And if you have any suggestions for later videos, let me know, as that may be my next video later on. So yeah, thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe.